Alright, so welcome back, guys. In this very important session of composting and rendering, I would like to draw your attention towards the important sections of the FX where you can take your work to the next level by following yet simple but powerful technique. Let's imagine a situation where we have to calculate the elements of the rendering. Now, by the elements of the rendering, I would like to say the usage of the pass. The pass is really going to be very effective as well as time saving and very important during the rendering workflow. But I also do agree that when you have to do a very complex FX work, you are not asked to do such things. Of course, there are sections and departments in the studios or in a big company. But what if we have to create our own demo reel and we have to show some sophisticated rendering or some sophisticated and nice blending of our FX work with the real images? So I've came with a very simple but very powerful solution for all of you guys. We would like to take the pass and we would like to create some elements in this lesson so that can make your job, can make your work really and easy. So how I would like to start in this lesson, first of all, as you can see that in the render section I have created a dedicated layer for this, which is by the name shadow_sand. Now what does this layer is basically telling me, the simple case is that I would like to extract only the shadow element from that section. The reason why I want to do is that because let's imagine a situation where you are having on a clean floor, okay, maybe in your room or maybe inside somewhere else, and in that clean room, the room is slowly getting dispersed or getting spilled with the sand. Now of course, if something falls upon the ground, of course it will gonna take the space and therefore it will also going to throw or cast its own shadows. So it's very important to use the shadows. But there are certain tricky things in the Maya to calculate the volumetric shadows. How? Let's take a look at that. Normal workflow is pretty simple, like the way we select a light, of course, and we all know that for calculating the fluids and particle stuffs, ray trace shadow suits to be the best. Okay, but in case with the default settings, like when you open up with the mental ray and all, you click to the option with in the light, use the ray trace shadows. What it'll gonna do, just take a look at that. Okay, so here's, that was my previous scene. Now just take a fresh render. Okay, and now just have a render. So here you can see that first of all the fluids are started appearing because I haven't switched off yet the primary visibility of the fluids. Okay, but if I gonna pause that thing and go to my alpha view, I can see that, however, it's, I do agree, difficult to notice the impact of the shadows, but here I can clearly see that there are actually no shadows, despite of the fact I am using a extra light, which is the directional light, and in the directional light also I do have the settings of the use ray trace. So where's my shadows are going? Well, the simple reason to it is that the way to address the problem is that, guys, you need to change the shadow settings, the shadow method from simple to the segments. Alright, now just take a very important look. Okay, that was the previous render. I'm gonna save that up. Okay, now I'll take a next render, but what I'm gonna do is that, let's do one thing first. Let me just switch off the primary visibility of the fluid so that when it comes to the rendering, you're going to see only the shadow part, not the diffuse or the color part of the fluid. Okay, so just do one thing, going back to our RGB mode only and hit the render. Of course, that will going to come completely a black because the primary visibility is surely off, and you can see the improve in the rendering time also. But if you're going to take that thing to the alpha view, you'll surely going to have the shadow pass. So let me just change the view for you. I do accept it's difficult for you to analyze, but if you can see carefully the previous view where I can have the color information as well as the alpha information for the fluids, but in this render setup you can see I have only the flat information which indicates me the pure shadows. Alright, now the simple way to address is that, guys, it's really very easy. First of all, you just need to select the elements of your scene, okay, and go to the right click, or maybe you can go to the hypershade also, and let's say assign favorite material and jump to the use backgrounds. The moment you drop this shader, what this shader we're going to do that it's going to extract the shadow for you. Okay, the good thing I like in this shader is that it supports the reflectivity also. So what I'm going to do is that since I don't need any reflectivity and I don't want any problems, just switch that off to 0, the reflection limit as well as the reflectivity also. And here you have a very important setting that called the shadow mask. If in case you put that thing to the 0, the shadow won't going to come. Okay, let's take a look at that on this shader which I have already been used. This is the use background one. Okay, in case if I say the shadow mask should be set that thing to the 0, now I'm damn sure about the fact the shadow in fact that also will not going to come. So you can see the render time just 2 seconds because it hasn't compute any shadows. Okay, so that's really going to be a very important thing for you. Okay, I hope so that I made my point clear to all of you guys. Now kindly just put that thing to maybe 0.5 or something to the 1, and I'm insisting you to get that thing separately because you can have much better access and control in the compositing. Okay, absolutely fine. Now let's just move to the second layer that is called the static fluid. Absolutely nice and absolutely fine. I have used the same techniques without any change. Here you can see that I have included these skulls as well as the background rock also, and even I have also provided them with the use background, but with one thing which I'm going to show is to you. In the render stats, I haven't included the cast shadow as well as the receive shadow. Reason being that I just wanted to share with you what, because let's suppose my skull has been placed somewhere around here. Okay, now just go back to my first frame where you can see that the skull is basically near around in front of me. Now if I'm gonna take a quick render view, so you can see that the skull won't going to appear in the render, but it will going to mask out the things. The reason why, because the use background utility also provides, you can say, the masking information. It will going to help us by creating the transparency in the compositing. Okay, so now if I just switch to the RGB mode, here you can see that the skull is basically providing with me with the mask. So the usage is clearly that I can replace that skull with the original skull, okay, by using the separate render of the skull having its own by default pass, the beauty pass, the shadow pass, all XYZ passes, which are very, very important to keep the stuff realistic in the compositing. And then I can usage of this thing also. Okay, so that will going to be really very effective. Alright, so it's time to move to the next lesson so that we can see the rendering of the sand particles. Okay,